guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Binhie. If you don't know me, I'm a pastry chef, I'm a dancer, I do a lot of random shit in my life. Some random shit that I did in my life yesterday was eat shrimp, and I'm really allergic to shrimp, and I haven't had shrimp in a few months because I realized that I was, pretty allergic to shrimp. I thought I was only allergic to raw shrimp, but then recently found out that I'm also very allergic to cooked shrimp. I just don't break out in hives, but my stomach gets so gassy and I have so much stomach pains and it sucks. But I also recently found out that I was lactose, so my brain was all like, maybe because I eat seafood with butter, maybe it was the butter and not the seafood that made my stomach hurt. So I was like, okay, let me try some shrimp. So yesterday I was at Panda Express and I ate the honey walnut shrimp, which is so good, so delicious. My stomach though, oh my god, I had like the worst sleep last night because my stomach was gassy. I woke up and there was like so much pressure. Not a good time. You know what's even funnier is that my family are actually shrimp farmers back in Vietnam, and I'm allergic to shrimp. Like, that's insane. So yeah, I can confirm that I am allergic to shrimp. Not enough to kill me, just enough to really upset my stomach. So it is 2 days before my boyfriend's graduation and graduation party, so that means we will be baking for the next 2 days. The first thing I'm going to do is actually prep the chocolate, and I actually want chocolate chunks, so I'm going to melt down the chocolate, spread it out on this sheet pan, and then cut them into chunks. Because they're going back into cookies, I don't need to temper them, so I'm just going to melt them regularly in the microwave. So this is a KitchenAid scale, and it's really nice because there's 2 parts to it. This one is for really, really small, accurate measurements, and then this one's for the bigger one. So I use this one for my matcha to get really accurate gram measurements, and this one's like what I use for baking. Stop throwing food at me. I'm scared. Stop it. So this should be the same chocolate, but it has different packaging because I got them a year apart. So let's actually taste to see if they taste the same. They look the same. They taste the same to me, and it's so good. Oh my god, this white chocolate is so good. Calabou. I don't even know how to pronounce your name because you might be French, and I'm not good with words, but girl. If you're thinking, Binh, this is an absurd amount of chocolate, it's for 40 cookies and they're 4 ounces each. So we're gonna do 30 seconds at first in the microwave, and then we're gonna go down to 15 and then 10. Chocolate can burn very easily, so you do wanna really mix in between each pass in the microwave. And then while that's doing, I'm just going to clear my area. Very important advice when you're baking is to just make sure that your area is clean, like in that ratatouille scene. So this is 30-second pass. The bottom is slightly melted, but nothing else. So we're gonna do another 30 seconds. After a minute, more melted chocolate at the bottom. We're gonna mix that up and then pop it in for 15 seconds intervals now. Growing up, I did not like chocolate at all, especially American chocolate. But then when I went to pastry school and got to try all these really high-end chocolate brands like Verona, it's like, wow, it's so good. And now I really love dark chocolate and I really love white chocolate. I don't care for milk chocolate that much. She's definitely a lot more melted. So you can still see a lot of chocolate chunks in the mixture, but as I mix her, those should melt in. So now I'm going to pour it into here. We're just gonna spread it. I don't want it too thin because I do want to be able to chop it. So I'm just going to make just a nice, even little spread. I know bowl scrapers aren't very common in a home kitchen. Even if you're not a pastry chef, I do recommend buying a bowl scraper. It helps so much getting everything out of a bowl. I can go in with my bowl scraper just to get off the remaining. I know it seems like this is such a small amount, but when you're working in such large quantities in the kitchen, waste really does add up, and you want to save as much money as you can. So I'm just going to pop this into the freezer and then start on the cookie dough. I'm just cleaning out the chocolate bowl to melt the butter down so you can start whipping it. I don't see a real difference in having butter sit out for like 10 hours before you bake, because honestly, who has the time to do that? I'm gonna give you guys my tip on what to do when a recipe calls for softened butter, which is to literally stick it in the microwave. And so you can see a little bit of melting under there, and that's exactly what you want. You don't want it to be too warm. So now we're gonna move it onto our mixing bowl. This is going to go into my little stand mixer with a paddle attachment, and we're gonna cream it until it is light and aerated and slightly changes colors. So I'm gonna measure out my brown sugar and my white sugar to cream with the butter. And I like to measure everything in grams. Weight measurements is just a lot easier than doing volume measurements. Okay, this goes in with the butter. And then you always want to scrape the bowl down to make sure that everything is evenly incorporated. I'm actually going to take it off the mixing stand so it's easier. And don't forget to scrape across the bottom as well. Let this go for a little longer. So when you whip stuff, it traps air into it, and air reflects light, so it becomes lighter. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but there is a slight shade difference, and that's how you know when your butter is ready, and when it has enough air into it, it's going to get a lighter shade. Okay, so these are eggs that I brought to room temperature in some hot water. It is very important that your eggs are room temperature. I'm going to put the eggs into here around 3 at a time just to make sure that it's fully incorporated. And after that, we'll add the flour in. I'm going to grab my spatula and wipe down the sides of the bowl. Make sure everything is well incorporated. Don't forget the bottom. Let's add in our last 4 eggs. Okay, we're gonna give this bowl one last scrape. So when I was in pastry school, instead of using bowls, we actually would just use parchment paper and then measure directly like on the parchment paper on a table. So I am going to put this flour back into this bowl. Let's see, 3, 2, 1. Nice. And then this parchment paper, we're actually gonna bake the cookies on later, so there's no waste. Yay! Baking tips 101. Who needs pastry school when you guys have me? Also, this looks absolutely disgusting. I think being a pastry chef, certain things just not appetizing. So you don't want to overmix cookie dough because you don't want to develop gluten. So while the cake flour is halfway mixed in, we're gonna put in the chocolate. So we're gonna just chop up some chocolate. I definitely did not spread out the chocolate enough because my wrist really hurts, and that took a bunch of time, but we have everything chopped. I'm gonna add half, mix it up, and then add the other half just to make sure that it's evenly distributed in the dough. And I like to add it halfway through the flour being mixed in, because if you add it at the end, you run the risk of over-mixing your dough. Also, with the chocolate chips being coated in the flour, it helps the chocolate not sink to the bottom of the cookie. So half of these cookies are gonna get cookies inside of them. It's cookieception. Half of them are going to get Oreos with the cream, and then I'm actually gonna take the cream off of this because I don't actually want them to be too sweet. My audience that are gonna be eating these cookies are actually going to be mostly Asian people. Asian people don't really like too sweet. You guys, I'm a very anxious person, and baking can be very anxiety driving because you're making so many decisions all at once. For me, I get a lot of anxiety when I'm not the only one in the kitchen. That's actually why I usually sleep during the day and then bake at night when no one's awake. But that's not very healthy for me, so I have recently decided to take that issue head on and just work through my anxiety. And so I have been really trying to be calm, be mindful, take deep breaths when I feel my brain trying to think too far ahead. I dial it back and just focus on the next task I need to do so I don't get overwhelmed. And I saw this post online, and it was all like, the best way to help anxiety or to stop anxiety is to literally just slow down your movement, do things a little slower. I think growing up, I always felt anxious because I felt like I was racing the clock to try to make money, to be successful, to do the things I need to do because I never felt really stable. But now that I'm in a more stable part of my life, I feel like it's important that I learn how to slow down. I'm also gonna use this little scoop to make some smaller size cookies. My wrists really hurt. Okay, so this is why you need a bowl scraper, okay? So you have all this extra dough in the bowl, and then this is gonna make it so easy to make sure you're not wasting any product. The days of looking a bowl clean are over. With all the chemicals that go into like flour and everything, it's just dangerous. Okay, so we're gonna jump onto our next project, which is Matcha Macarons. I measured out all of my flour, pad sugar, sifted them all together, and then I made an egg white meringue. We're combining the two to make the batter, and I'm beating out the air in a process called macaronage. Macarons are considered one of the hardest pastries to make in the industry, and it took me around 3 to 4 years to really perfect my recipe and my technique. And so now I'm very confident to make a very large batch whenever. So I'm going to pipe out the macarons on Teflon sheets using a reusable piping bag, and both of these are going to be linked in my Amazon storefront. And then as you guys know, macarons need to sit out and form a film before you can bake them. So while they're sitting out, I'm actually going to wrap up my cookie dough and let them rest in the fridge overnight to bake them tomorrow. Hi guys, it's one day until the graduation party and we are going to make some creme brulee. So this is some vanilla beans I ordered off Amazon. I used half of it to make some vanilla extract and left some of it as a bean, so whenever I'm making any creme brulee or pastry cream, I could infuse the cream. I always saw chefs on YouTube using vanilla beans and it was so cool, and I always wanted to be a type of chef that has vanilla beans inside their home kitchen. Growing up, I used to watch this YouTuber named Laura Vitale. She was a very big influence on my decision to become a pastry chef. So you want to split the beans in half, and then you want to scrape out all of the vanilla pods on the inside, and then we're going to dump it into our pot. Vanilla beans are pretty expensive, but honestly, I think they're very worth it. It creates such a complex flavor in your pastries. And then we're actually going to take the pods itself and put them into the cream to infuse. So we're going to heat this up on the stove until it's simmering, and then we're going to let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. So in the meantime, we're going to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks. The egg yolks are going to be for the creme brulee, and then we're going to make some pavlova in a bit as well with the egg whites, so we don't waste any of the ingredients. Okay, so now we're going to add the egg yolks and sugar into a bowl. We're going to combine it slightly. Okay, so now that we have the milk and the eggs, I'm actually going to take out the vanilla pods, and actually we're not going to throw these away. I'm going to wash them, and we're going to put them in alcohol to make vanilla extract, because we have not extracted all of their flavors just yet. So now what we're going to do is temper the liquids into the eggs. Because this is so hot, you actually run the risk of cooking the eggs. So you want to constantly be stirring as the mixture goes in. So if we've washed the vanilla beans and we've dried them, and now I'm going to put them into my jar of vodka. So making vanilla extract is actually very easy. It's literally any cheap vodka or alcohol, and then you just put the beans in there and let them sit in a dark counter. All right, moving on to filling these ramekins. So I got some disposable tins from Amazon. And we're just going to baking tray with it. We're going to cook the creme brulee in a water bath, and the purpose of that is to make the heat more gentle so it cooks without browning. I don't want to make them too thick just because it is a very decadent dessert, so I don't think a lot of people will be eating too much of it with all the other foods. So I want to make it a nice serving size where people won't be overwhelmed. So the oven is preheated to 350 just because this oven loses a lot of temperature when you open the door. And so my target temperature is actually 325. So when my water is boiling, I'm going to stick these in, then grab some boiling water and pour it at the bottom of the tray to do my water bath. And it's going to bake, I don't know, like 18-20 minutes. I honestly have no idea. Just kind of gauge by the jiggle. Okay, welcome to the day before graduation, the day before the party. I am going to be making some chocolate dipped Madelines. So these Madelines I did not make. I think they are from Costco. This is just to kind of decorate and have something pretty on display for the guests. The white chocolate that I'm using is also white coating chocolate. And if you guys don't know, chocolate and coating wafers are very different things. They taste honestly the same to someone that is not trained in chocolate. And then moving on, we finished baking the macaron shells last night, and now I just whipped up a Swiss meringue buttercream and I'm going to fill them. And then again, using the crushed pistachios, I'm going to add it to the sides of the macaron just for another depth of flavor. So it's a matcha pistachio macaron, and I'm very happy with how they turned out. And then the last thing that we're gonna do today is make pavlova or meringue cookies. So I whipped up another meringue. I'm just gonna whip it up with some sugar, put it into a piping bag, and then make these little like Christmas trees. This was really fun and really easy to make. You bake them at a really low temperature and then you let them sit in the oven overnight to cool down. Good morning, guys. So we just came back from Chen's graduation ceremony. We're gonna go grab some tacos because we're so hungry. I'll show you guys what we're doing to set up the final dinner party. See you guys in a bit. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're gonna make some bacon wrapped dates with cheese. I have no idea how this is gonna turn out. I'm literally not following a recipe. I just saw this idea online, so we're just going to try it. We're gonna cut the dates in half, but you have to take out the little seed inside. We're gonna stuff it with cheese and then roll it up in some bacon that's already been pre-cooked because it's gonna be raw if you use regular bacon. Okay, so I just put the dates in the oven for a bit and then we're switching over to making the creme brulee. So I'm gonna be dumping sugar in the brulee, moving it around and then transferring it to the other one until they're all done. So here is the dinner spread for everything. I'm sorry that I didn't get so in-depth day of. It was honestly such a stressful day. I was on like 4 hours of sleep. I woke up at like 7 a.m. and we did graduation, then I went home and continued baking, and then I had to change and be pretty for guests, and there was like 40 people in the house. Anyways, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this baking vlog. If you guys like this type of content, please leave a comment down below so I know and I can make more of it for you guys. I hope this was educational and I hope it made you feel something. Bye guys, see you later.